Well, a very good morning to all of you that are watching us through YouTube. Welcome to Grow and Travel. This show is dedicated to personal development as well as touristic places from all over the world. I am Nadia Flores, and today we'll be talking about the frustration as well as visiting beautiful places from the city of Toluca. Come join me. And here we are, back in Toluca. As you know, Toluca is a city that is pretty cold throughout the year. However, today we're not going to talk about the weather. We're actually going to go to very important places in the city, starting with the Alameda Park. We're also going to go to 3 different museums, and of course we're going to end in a very beautiful building that is dedicated to music. But before that, let's go to our coaching message. Frustration. That feeling that we get whenever something that we want is not being accomplished or we cannot get it. It's a mixture between a little bit of anger mixed with sadness. That is frustration. And that leads us eventually to deception. Sometimes when we see that what we want is not happening, it just leads you down to a path that you don't want to experience. But especially nowadays, in the generations that are coming, they're becoming like crystal generations, where everybody gets offended for anything and for everything, and everybody wants something that sometimes cannot have. But this is because also technology is making us in such a way that everything comes to us in the fastest and easiest possible way. And yes, that is marvelous, but what happens when we are not able to get it? We start feeling frustrated because there's no patience, for one, and for second, there's no tolerance. So without tolerance or patience, what can you do? First, you have to be aware that if you don't manage your frustration, you can end up very disappointed for one, and also in a place where you don't want to be, such as maybe even depression. So that's why it is so important to manage frustration the way that you could, because you could take a different attitude towards it. But I'm going to give you 3 tips in the next segment of our coaching message. The construction of Parque Cuauhtémoc, also called Alameda Central de Toluca, dates from the mid-19th century between 1841 and 1844. It was made in an irregular pentacle called La Unión, which was flanked by ditches and fences. It only had 4 doors for the entry and exit of people and carriages. Over time, it was neglected and abandoned until the determination was made to tear down the old fences and gates, and they were replaced by symmetrical meadows, a zoo of pheasants and eagles, a harmonic box, an aviary of wire, iron, and wood, a place for the breeding of deer, a greenhouse, and a lake where you could see black swans, herons, geese, and ducks. In the heart of this beautiful park is a monument to Cuauhtémoc, who was the last Tlatoani or Aztec lord. For those who see us outside of Mexico, the Aztec culture was the most important pre-Hispanic culture in Mexico. Cuauhtémoc took command to defend his people in the middle of the Spanish conquest, leading the defense of Tenochtitlan in 1521, until the moment when he was taken prisoner by the Spanish. This monument is the centerpiece of La Alameda Park. It is surrounded by the playground, the Toluca Children's and Youth Library, and the dog pond. La Alameda, in addition to being a green space and lung of the city, also performs essential functions to improve the quality of life of the citizens of Toluca. The balance of the environment makes it conducive to physical activity and family recreation. For this reason, it continues to be the favorite of the inhabitants of this city to enjoy moments of fun and conviviality during weekends, vacations, and days of special celebrations. And now, after visiting this beautiful park, we're going to show you 3 museums that cannot be missed when you visit Toluca. The Watercolor Museum occupies the facilities of a beautiful building built at the end of the 19th century and consists of 8 rooms, where works by various renowned painters from the state of Mexico are presented. The museum offers an excellent collection of paintings, watercolors, and is a very well-preserved old house adapted and distributed for the exhibition of various works of art. The museum holds lectures, book presentations, plays, workshops, and guided tours. It is one of the most prestigious and the second most important of its kind in all of Mexico. The Museum of the Inquisition shows its visitors the history of the Holy Inquisition. It has a museography divided into sections, which present the subject of the Inquisition, its origin, and the most emblematic characters of this historical event. It describes the procedures and mechanisms used by the Inquisition to hunt down heretics, witches, and infidels of Christianity, against whom it applied torture methods to obtain a confession. The torture devices on display are, for the most part, from a private collection and gathered in the antique markets of Italy, Portugal, Spain, and Germany, countries in which the Inquisition managed to remain for several centuries. The name alfeñique comes from a sweet that has become a great tradition, a distinctive feature of Toluca. The Alfeñique Museum is an interactive museum dedicated to alfeñique candy and the celebration of the Day of the Dead. Its objective is to promote the appropriation and conservation of local and national traditions around this day. The museum has 5 permanent exhibition rooms that explain the importance of the alfeñique sweet in Toluca through a journey that takes us through the gastronomic tradition in Mexico, to the history of the Feria del Alfeñique, through the manufacturing process in the rooms that narrate with phrases, literary schools, and even poems. Literary school is a set of words written in rhyme in a funny, satirical, and critical way, where reference is made to some quality or defect of a character or to matters of general interest. It should not be forgotten to mention the death and write irreverently and light. Before becoming the wonderful musical venue it is now, the Sala Felipe Villanueva was previously a cinema. The enclosure was built like a theater. It had boxes and they gave 3 movies per show. The seats were made of wood and it was the cheapest movie theater in town. At the end of the last century, the building was remodeled into this concert hall with the purpose of strengthening the culture and reaffirming the Mexican identity. The Felipe Villanueva Hall was inaugurated by the governor of the state of Mexico on August 28, 1987. It has 756 seats and is currently the home of the Symphony Orchestra of the state of Mexico and the Youth Symphony Orchestra of the state of Mexico. It also hosts some of other events such as the program Come to Culture on a Wednesday, which offers theater, music, and dance to children, youth, and adults. If you are visiting Toluca, don't miss out on this experience. And we are back with 3 tips to manage frustration. So tip number 1, be aware. Be aware and conscious of the present moment. Feel that frustration that is going through you. We go back to the definition of frustration. It's a mix of anger with sadness. So once you are aware, let yourself feel that emotion and don't pretend it's not there. It is there for a reason and it's guiding you to be your best self. Tip number 2, once you are aware, you can question then the belief or the situation. Ask yourself, what is triggering me for me to feel this way? What is happening inside of me when this situation happens that is making me feel this way? Sad, angry. That means frustrated. And once you create that awareness and that clarity on what is creating that frustration inside you, then you can proceed to our tip number 3, which is acceptance. As always, acceptance. Then you can accept what you cannot change, and guess what? If you can change it, then you can go ahead and change it. And yes, guys, that is it for the message. Now remember, if you or anybody that you know is looking to leave all the negative beliefs or all the crazy ideas behind, please make sure that you contact me. I would love to help you live a more free, more fulfilling, and more happy life. And we've come to the end of this show. We want to thank you so much for watching all the way through. We would like to invite you to continue watching us next week on Wednesday, like every Wednesday on this your channel, Grow and Travel. Once again, my name is Nadia Flores and we'll see you on the next one.